All right, everybody, we're going to start in a minute or so.
It's good, Affiz.
What's up, man?
It's good, bro. I like the suit.
Listen, man, you feel me? We got to be crisp for these types of events. These are important topics to talk about, man.
I know. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Hey, man, we're moving forward in life. Appreciate you, though.
No problem, bro.
All right, as it is 8:05, I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting. Hello, everyone. I want to first thank all of you guys for coming out to today's meeting to show some support for the Black Men Speak event. I really can't tell you guys how excited I am for this event to finally be reaching its fruition. It's been in planning for quite some time, about 2 years, in fact, but I digress. This event is really here to highlight the emotional aspects of everyday life for Black men. And we want to change some of the stereotypes and perceptions that revolve around Black men and lack of emotion. I hope that you guys will really enjoy this talk and discussion, as there's a lot to talk about and there's much for you guys to absorb. With that being said, I'd rather everyone wait for the end to ask questions. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Affiz Din-Gabsi. I'm the Sergeant at Arms at BSU. I'm also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I'm a senior here at the University of New Haven, and I study civil engineering. Similarly, I would like to introduce some of the people, the men, that are going to be talking on today's questions. Excuse me. First, we have Kalim Sise.
Hey guys, my name is Kalim Sise. I'm a cybersecurity major and student athlete at the University of New Haven. I'm in my senior year.
Next, we have Brian Rock.
Hi, how's everybody doing? My name is Brian Rock. I'm a criminal justice major, a minor in psychology, senior. I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Yeah, I'm a Hotel chapter here at the University of New Haven.
Wonderful. After that, we have Jalen Leon. Excuse me.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jalen Leon. I'm a senior at Yale University, majoring in history, and a member of the Zeta chapter of Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. It's a pleasure to be here with you all tonight.
Great. And last but not least, Philip Quay.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Phil Quay. I'm an international business major at Southern Connecticut State University. I do track and field, and I'm also part of the Iota Beta chapter of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Glad to be here.
Wonderful. As I said before, I'm really excited for this event. More excited for these men to display some of the emotional context that they do hold. But with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and go straight into the PowerPoint. So the first of today's topics that we're going to speak on is education. What challenges do you guys as Black men face in gaining a higher education? Are we going to go with Jalen? Go ahead, bro.
All right, yeah. So I took a class this past spring, and we kind of talked about the fact that higher education wasn't really built. I mean, we kind of understand that higher education wasn't built for us as Black people and as Black men, but it also wasn't built for a lot of people. Higher education was built for the elite, that had, the time and resources to sit around, throughout their day and read books on the classics and study engineering and do all this stuff. And not much has changed over time. So I think the biggest challenge is that, higher education and the lifestyle that comes around it doesn't necessarily fit into the lifestyles that we often have as Black men, and needing to work in order to support ourselves and needing to support our family and be there for our family. And it's a difficult task to balance all those things, and it's not something that's shared. It's something that's shared by many students, but not by everyone, and it's a unique experience that we have first being in this position as Black men in higher education, but also, there's some different challenges that come with that. And also just building relationships with professors, being that there are less Black professors for us to connect with. I feel like my white peers are able to build connections and network, and go a little bit further because of the relationships that they can build with their professors, where it's not as easy for us due to the lack of representation within our universities and colleges of Black professors and instructors. So I think those are some really difficult challenges, but we still find a way to overcome it, and we're still out here getting our degrees. So
I feel the exact same way. I mean, at the end of the day, education is very important. But anybody else would like to speak on this one? Okay, Khalil Cisse, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel as though there's a lot of pressure when it comes to being a Black student, only because of the fact that our actions affect others. So if I were to fail a class, I know the teacher will look at another Black student and assume that, oh, he's going to fail the class too. And sometimes they may not do it on purpose, but you just know, like, they will do it subconsciously.
Okay, Phil?
So kind of piggybacking off what Jalen said, it's kind of not just regular education, it's higher education. So when you get into higher education, it's kind of pinned against you without you can't do anything about it. It's a system that's working against you. They're not expecting you to be there. So any connections that you do make, they're not expecting it to last or hold much weight. So being in a place of higher education, it's going to be harder to get that A or get that or get that connection with the teacher, like he said, because you're not supposed to be there in the first place, in their opinion.
Right.
Yeah, touching on what everybody said, it's a system that's just not built for us, that we're trying to make our way into. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but it's something that needs to be changed.
Moving on to the second question. How do you feel that the education you have gained thus far has equipped you to survive in today's society? Jalen?
yeah, so I think there's different ways you can view this. So in terms of like career wise, I personally think in my experience, part of that may be that I'm a history major, but I don't think anything I've learned in the classroom is gonna prepare me for my career. Besides just like being able to like juggle a lot of things or things like that, which are skills I could gain in other things in life besides being in a classroom paying thousands of dollars to be there. But I do think in terms of like my everyday life, I've taken a lot of classes that study kind of Blackness, the Black experience within America and around the world. And in public education in America, we don't really cover we don't cover our history well. So we don't really have a good foundation of understanding who we are, and what has put us as Black people in the position that we're in today, the different forces that have oppressed us. So that's something that I really value from my college experience, being able to learn that in the classroom. And it does inform the way I move about my life. It makes me, realize my purpose a little bit more. So, I definitely take that away from it. Career-wise, it's just kind of a badge for credibility, and so that, like our white society can say that I have some type of value.
Right?
Yeah, for me, it would be more on a level of what I've learned going out through life. Like, what I'm trying to say is basically, I've looked from school, I gathered a way of going about life, but I've also realized that there's a lot more than what they teach us inside of school, like a lot more to the curriculum than what they give to us.
Mm-hmm.
So it brought me to definitely venture out and expand some of my knowledge.
Definitely. All right, with that being said, we're gonna move on. Okay, so the next topic we're gonna cover tonight is emotions. Now, on a scale of 1 to 5, how emotionally in tune or aware are you with yourself, women in general, and Black women specifically? Explain your ratings. Who would like to answer first? All right, Philip, go ahead.
So the first one would be emotionally in tune with myself. I would say pretty well. So if I'm being the best, I would give myself a 4 because no one has completely figured themselves out. But I would say I have a decent grasp on my emotions and how I work and what can push me to a certain point and what can't. Women in general, again, I would say 3. I'm going to say in the middle on this one because I've not talked to every lady in the world, but I can't just generalize them and say that they're all the same if I've dealt with one in a specific way. And Black women, I would say that would be a 4. I would push that one up. I always related more and related better to people of my own color. So, because we have more similar things in common to speak on and touch bases with on different things that happen in our own lives. So I would give myself a 4 on that one.
Anybody else? All right, Kalim.
I feel as though I'm a 4 when it comes to being emotionally in tune with my emotions. Simply due to the fact that like as a kid, my mom was always telling me to like embrace my emotions, and her as a Black woman, she understood that Black men have that stereotype of trying to be stoic. So she helped me embrace my emotional side. So yeah.
Said, all right. The second question. What is one thing you know you must work on emotionally as an individual? All right, Jalen.
Yeah, for me, I realized that I'm not good at kind of communicating my emotions. If I'm feeling something, I don't necessarily know the best way to articulate that to others, and that's something I'm actively working on. I feel like sometimes we're able to kind of communicate maybe the situations that might be having us feel a certain type of way. So X, Y, and Z, this happened, whatever, and we're telling the story of what happened, but not necessarily how we're feeling or what we're feeling or why it made us feel the way we feel. So I didn't realize that it was an issue that I had until it was kind of brought to my attention. But something I'm actively working on. It's just a matter of like really reflecting on yourself and starting to understand yourself more and how you react to things.
Brian.
One thing I know I have to work on emotionally is working through my emotions. Like whenever I may be angry or sad or whatever the case may be, I need to be able to work through it and find positive factors that get me through it.
That's a big thing. I feel like that's very important as well. Finding positive aspects that you can draw from in everyday life that doesn't seem to be so positive is definitely a great skill to acquire, especially being a Black man. It seems to be a lot of things these days, especially that are against us. So you got to enjoy the little things, right? All right. Now, the next topic that we're going to cover is women. Now, what does love mean to you? How do you express it? And how do you best receive it? Philip?
So this is a very abstract yet complex and difficult thing to explain. Everyone has their own different view on love and what it means, but to me, it's someone who you, of course, you care for, but it's deeper than that. It's more of how you feel towards them. I understand it's like a deep thing, but love is like you'll do anything for that person. There's nothing that person can do in your eyes that would take away the love that you have from them. With expressing love, there's different love languages, and that was something that was new for me. I didn't know that there were so many like different love languages, like 5 or something like that, as far as love languages go. But for me, quality time would be something that I would say is how I express it best, because running around, being busy all the time. And if I take time out of my day to be with somebody or take the time to hang out with them or get food or whatever the case may be, that would be me expressing love. And how I best receive it is in the same fashion, because I understand how difficult it is to get that time away from whatever you're doing or taking care of to give to someone else. So if they can give me the same back, I appreciate that too.
Great. Anybody else? Jalen, go ahead. Oh. What is that? Yep, there we go. Brian, excuse me, go ahead.
It's all good. Can you hear me? My computer is like going in and out.
Nah, you're good right now.
All right, cool. So love to me is a lot of things, like you were saying, but it's a lot of it is about respect. It's about knowing that things are never going to be easy, or not always going to be easy. Times are going to be hard, but you're going to want to be with that person, working it out with that person. How do I feel like you best express it? It's like conversation, through talking, obviously through the vibe and how everything goes about. But mostly the conversation. If I can have a conversation with somebody and feel that they'll have my back, like that's the first part of me that starts to get love. Like knowing that I'll have somebody that's going to ride for me. And that's actually how I best receive it. So look, I answered the second part of the question.
To answer this question myself, because I feel like this is very important. I feel like, just as Phil said, love does have a lot of different definitions, and I feel like it's very important for you as an individual to find your own definition of love. I feel like in today's times, a lot of people ask for advice when it comes to love, but one thing that I personally feel like we should harp on is self-meaning when it comes to love. There are a million different definitions for what you want to call love, in the same way that you're loved is not the same way another individual will be loved. So that is a lot that you have to take into account. Me personally, the way that I best express love, if we want to go like love language, I would probably say physical touch. I'm a very touchy person. I feel like just having people close to me is the best way to show affection. But it just means so much more. And how do I best receive it? This is a tricky question for me, just because I feel like I'm real on off when it comes to love. Like, I like to be by myself, but I like to know that somebody's there. I'd sit down in the room, and as long as you're here with me, then we'll be fine. Yeah. Going on to the next one for this. So, what are your feelings about the stigma around Black men in the Black women's society? Anybody? Phil, go ahead.
I'm thinking of the stigma part. So the stigma of Black men not appreciating Black women, or what?
In whatever aspect that you feel like is most relevant.
Okay, definitely most relevant. What I've seen is Black women feeling as Black men don't like them, or Black men are not a fan of Black women. They like white women. They like light skinned women. They don't like dark skinned women. This whatever. So my feeling on it is, we can't hate on nobody for liking what they like. That's how I'm gonna be on it. I'm never gonna say, "Wow, I can't believe you did that." But me personally, I do love Black women. I'm a stand up for Black women, Black queens. You know what I'm saying? But if someone's gonna say they like Spanish women, or they like Asian women, they like Indian women, who am I to say I can't tell them not to love them? They have to love Black women only. So if Black men don't choose to love Black women, but they still have to stand up for them, that's another thing that I'm gonna say. You definitely have to stand up for Black women without a doubt. But I'm not saying you have to be only for Black women.
Jalen, go ahead.
Yeah, building off of what Phil said, I definitely think like love is love. Love whoever you like. But I do think it's important that all Black men love Black women, because even if that's not who you choose to be your intimate partner in life, at the end of the day, we're still bonded in our Blackness, and that love has to be there within every other relationship that you have, whether it be familial or your friendships or just your interactions with everyday people. So I still think, there is a stigma around that in the way that we interact as Black men with Black women. And it doesn't just have to be our intimate partners. And we have to make sure that love and understanding and that unity is underlying in all those interactions that we have.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. What are some ways we as Black men can support our Black women? Jalen, go ahead.
Yes, I feel like this is a tough question, but it's also like a simple one. Like, I think the biggest way is just to listen to them, listen to the way that Black women want to be supported. At the end of the day, we have to recognize that, it's different like categories of oppression, I guess. And like, as we're all Black people, we all have the same shared experience. Like, no matter where we are, but like as men, we are like in a position of privilege. So we can't really dictate the terms of what Black women should want or how we should, like how we should protect them or what we should be doing for them. So I think the biggest part is listening. And I think that's such a huge part. I feel like, I feel like a lot of the feedback that I've gotten is that Black women don't feel like they're listened to by Black men. So I think that's just like the most crucial aspect. And then moving on from there and doing that, having those conversations and listening to, all the Black women in your life have to say, going again throughout all your relationships, whether it be intimate, familial, your friendships and all of that. Yeah.
Right.
We as Black men just have to straight out protect our Black women, man. Like, that's what it comes down to. There's a lot of like onlooking and bystanding, and that just has to change.
I feel like going back to what Jalen had said, us just supporting Black women in whatever way that we possibly can is very important as well. I feel like it's important to take interest in the things that Black women do as well. They are a part of us and we are a part of them. And as just one culture, we should really make sure that we're in tune with each other. We're the only ones who are going to help each other out. So without their support, it's kind of like a half effort, excuse me. However, I also do feel like Black men should also make sure that they voice how they feel about these issues. I feel like we've taken a back seat to some of the issues that Black women have presented to us. We should make sure that some of these things that they do speak about are just as high on the list to us as it is to them, because we know that, in all honesty, they support us with the most highest respect, so we should do the same. All right, so next category that we're going to go into is everyday life. What are some key components you feel have led you to living a happy life? Philip?
I would say a key component would be being conscious of how you feel. Because there's a lot of things, a lot of energies, different things that can come and try to sway you from how you're feeling or how you push you off your game, so to speak. So being very conscious of or emotionally conscious, mentally conscious of how you're feeling will definitely be, it'll help you to be more happy. If you know what's making you happy, you can tell when something's trying to come in there and disturb that. So if you're very mentally aware of what's going on, you can kind of address it before it gets too deep to the point where it pulls you off the trail of being happy.
Okay. Brian?
Laughter. I find a lot of joy in smiling. I think that a smile a day, man, it brightens everything. It makes me personally feel like great. I just know that if I go through a day where maybe I haven't smiled as much, I feel down, rather than if I go through a day where I'm smiling all the time, I'm having the best time of my life. And I find that making sure that I find something to smile about every single day keeps me in that happy mindset.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that There's like a saying, it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. So that already puts a lot into the image of what a smile can do. Not only that, smiles are just, they're infectious. Being nice or anything like that is always infectious. So it's something that you can put onto other people just by being around them. Kalim, go ahead.
I think that you should just, surround yourself with the right people, because their energy, affects your energy as well. And if you have like the same people who are like in the same major or the same, that have the same goals or ambitions as you, then, you don't feel alone. Like you feel like we're in this together.
Jalen, I know you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I think, going into kind of a different direction, but I think just like family and faith are like two components that are crucial to my happiness. Always rely on family anytime anything is, like life throws a hurdle at me. I know that's, family's always something I could fall back on, and my faith as well. So yeah.
Just in general, finding something to believe in is definitely a good way. All right. Next question is going to be, explain in detail a memorable moment where you truly felt happy. Philip, go ahead.
So memorable moment would be, so coming into my freshman year doing track was a different thing to like kind of adjust to college athletics coming from high school, and the whole year was just not good. And it was just too difficult for me to adjust. I wasn't making the times that I was before. I wasn't jumping as far, throwing far. It was just bothering me. But by the time we came to uh, my sophomore year, and I started to see more results and things like that, and then I finally got to my meet where I got to the I think it was New England Championships, and for me to finish first was like a huge deal to me, because I could remember the pain from my freshman year, and just thinking about, wow, I'm not where I should be. I'm not who I wanted to be. I'm not at this point where I should be at. And that just, it brought me genuine happiness to be where I wanted to be for so long ago, and genuinely working hard and finally meeting there and getting first among all divisions was just a big deal for me.
Okay. Anybody else like to answer that? No, all right. Well, I'll take a stab. A memorable time where I truly felt happy. Over this break, well, not even, I keep calling it a break, but during that COVID-19 period, that was within March to when we came back to school. I remember my little sister, this was like, what was it? It was her 18th birthday. And it was weird not celebrating it, just knowing that everything was going on. People were getting sick, people were dying and all that stuff. But I remember I had actually like went out and I bought her like a birthday cake. And I remember I bought like a whole bunch of hamburgers and stuff like that. And I just started getting on the grill. And I feel like that was a moment where I truly felt happy, because it was a down moment for her, just because I knew that she really wanted to do something like big for her birthday, but she just couldn't, just because of the circumstances. But Brian, go ahead. You share a moment.
A memorable moment for me, I got to go a couple years back in memory bank. Senior year of high school, my mother took me to the city to a Broadway show, to Aladdin. She knew as a child I loved Aladdin, so I always wanted to see it on Broadway. But I just remember the day that we had. It was just a special moment, because I know for my mom it was a hard time sending her son off to school. It was one of our last hurrahs, you feel me? And it was just one of those moments I'll never forget.
One thing that I do notice about some of these stories is that, like, they're faced in like in the past. I feel like it's very important for you to create memorable moments where you truly feel happy often, so that way you don't have to remember something that was that far. Not saying that the panelists have, not experienced anything happy, but just in general, just creating these moments, it kind of gives you a kind of like I want to say, kind of lift every day. It gives you a reason to feel happy, just trying to create these moments, making sure that you do things that make you happy every day. So that way you do remain mentally, I don't want to say stable, but you want to stay mentally healthy. So the next question is, what is one struggle you face as a Black man that nobody else knows? Jalen, go ahead.
Yeah. So this past spring, I studied abroad. I went to London. And when I was out there, I was really excited about that trip. I always wanted to go to England. I'm a big fan of soccer. I always watched the English Premier League, all types of stuff. But when I was out there, I had a really difficult time. And I started to realize that like some of the things I was dealing with like weren't normal. Starting to like see some signs of depression and things like that within myself, which is really, it was a few things about it. One being like the disbelief and feeling like I could be depressed, or like and it was an ignorant thought, but the thought of like like I'm stronger than that, like what is this, you know what I'm saying? So like kind of being critical of myself, which isn't is not the right perspective to have. And also just not being open and honest about it, going back to what I said about communicating my emotions. So I would speak to my parents and my family regularly and get on the phone and be like, yeah, everything was good and this is that. And mind you, with there was some strikes going on down there, so we didn't have class for like 3 weeks, and there was like days at a time where I never left my room, and the kitchen's right down the hall, and I just didn't, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, it was a difficult time, and I felt that like, maybe it's my own pressure that I put on myself, maybe it's some of the things around my culture, or dynamics of my family that I didn't feel like I could communicate that. But I definitely don't want, I definitely want to shed light on that, even though it's something that's kind of difficult to talk about, because I want people to realize that there's nothing wrong with struggling with things like that, and when you are in that place, it's important to have some type of plan or someone to speak to, or something to help pull you out of that, So yeah.
Anybody else like to share? All right, I guess I'll share one of the struggles that I face. Over this COVID-19 experience that I said before, just within March to around April, to preface the story, actually previously about my little sister, my father had actually passed away from COVID. That was April 18th. And during that time, I really didn't know like what to do per se, or like how to act. But I just knew in my mind, I was just like, you better not cry. And I don't know why I kept saying that to myself, but I was just like, you better not cry, you better not cry. And I feel like initially I felt upset, but I wasn't sad and I didn't know how to display that. So I kind of just acted like I was fine. After a while, I had to get to a point where I was like, well, you know what? Obviously, this situation isn't like you're not okay with it, but you just don't know how to emotionally express that. It got to a point where it was like, well, you know what? Maybe you should do more research on exactly where these feelings come from, how you should feel, so that way you can feel a little bit more normal about these things. What I ended up doing actually was the morning of my little sister's birthday was the day that I buried my father. So right after that is when I went to the store and I just bought all that stuff for her birthday. And I did like, that whole little barbecue thing that I just talked about. And that day I cried because I was just like, well, you know what? I think at this moment it is okay to do so. And from talking to different people and being consoled and things like that, it made it more of a comfortable environment for me to feel like I could be emotional. So if there is one thing that I say that I struggle with now looking back on the story, it would probably be finding company to be emotional in front of. And I feel like a lot of Black men don't necessarily get that. We live in a society where tough as nails is the norm, toxic masculinity, and we need to denormalize that. just kind of holding those emotions in is very unhealthy. Not only that, it can definitely cause catastrophic backlash on your future, as well as the way that you perceive the past. So, okay, so the next topic we're going to talk about is impact. Name one way Black men can better influence their communities. Brian, go ahead.
By getting involved, community service, just getting out there. People see you out in the community doing good. It just brings good.
Kalim?
Just being involved in the community in general. It's good to, see, it's good for kids to see, Black men doing positive things in the community. And, whether it's like doing coaching for a little league, or like, just handing out canned goods, just being involved in the community in general will like give that good impression on, little kids, like, oh, I can, help the community, but I can be like, a good influence.
Jayla?
Yeah, I would say unity. A lot of the panelists on this call are, members of Divine Nine organizations. And even going back from that, I have a lot of friends. I have a friend who was talking to me about building a community center for kids, and starting a basketball camp and all these things. We have all these great ideas, all this great work that we do, because a lot of us are involved, but we can unite that work and make it more meaningful and impactful. If you want to build a community center, there might be someone that's already doing the work for that. There might be a community center that you could already, bring your vision and their vision together. There may be something that you want to do that someone's already doing. And, we don't have, I think we have a lot of great ideas, but everything doesn't have to be super entrepreneurial, or you got to build it from the ground up, because then, that's how you get burnt out, because you're taking on this huge task. And, being united and realizing that you can join forces with a lot of people that are there's so many people doing great work in all these different communities that we are a part of. So whether it be, us joining forces within the Divine Nine or whatever aspect it is, I think unity is will really be a difference maker.
Philip?
I would say getting to know the people in your community. You can't influence anybody you don't. It's hard to influence somebody who's in your community if you're not really out there for them to see you. So of course, when you're out there for them to see you, it's good to build a connection with somebody, because then like Jalen said, there's connections you can make, and within those connections you can make more progress. There's power in numbers. So with having those numbers, you can definitely outreach and make more progress and reach more places that you want to reach in the community.
I feel like at the smallest level, just Black men trying to be a better version of themselves every day is going to influence the community. Any little thing that you can do to advance yourself and the way that you live your life, somebody's going to see that. Somebody's going to recognize what you're doing. Somebody's going to idolize you, so that way one day they can be like you. Maybe not exactly, but take the steps that you took to be successful. So just taking those minor steps, like making sure that you're going to class every day, because those are things that add up to education and the way that you feel about yourself as a Black man. Just making sure that you're mentally healthy, making sure that you check up on yourself as well as those who love you. Those are all things, those are all ways that you can better the community. Just people seeing you being a healthy being is enough. Okay, so we're going to move on to finance as a topic. Now, why is it that financial stability is important to you? Philip, go ahead.
Financial stability is important because I know what it's like not to be, like when you grow up and it's not how it is now, it's harder when you grew up and you didn't know how you're going to eat, like you didn't know if your mom was going to come back with it, or your dad was going to come back and he worked today, if he called out, whatever the case may be. You want to be financially stable so that you can make those changes that you want. You want to be able to be a power changer, and be in the places where you can make those changes. So I think that's why financial stability is important to me.
Right?
Yeah, touching upon that as well. Coming from a household that was not too financially stable, it was very important to me to be financially stable in my household, especially when I get older. I feel like it's something that has eluded a lot of Black men in their lives. It's a dream that they're always chasing for a sense. And there's just things that like can be done to not get to that point. There's stuff that other people know about how to handle their finances that we must not know, like keeps us from getting to that level of financial stability throughout family, through lines of family. I want to be financially stable enough that my kids can be financially stable under me and their kids can be financially stable under me as well. That's the financial stability I'm looking for in my life.
Look,
I think it's about being independent and not being a burden to others, while at the same time helping your family out when they need to, and not being useless when they are in need. So that way be able to help them out if they need to.
I was actually watching some like this like a TED talk by this entrepreneur, and he said that a lot of people live a good life, where they basically, good being an acronym for get out of debt. A lot of people are just trying to get out of debt. They live their everyday lives just trying to get out of debt. They don't really want to excel in those areas, so that way they can be financially stable. Um, as we all know, money really does rule the world. I mean, without money, you can't go to school. Without money, you can't eat. Without money, you can't do a lot of things. So being financially stable really impacts your way of life. So it's important just so that way you can live, well, not only just so you can live a successful life, but you can show to others, just as we referred to back in the last question of how Black men can influence their communities. Being financially stable is a great way for people to see that you're in good standing with yourself. Um, to say the least, being financially stable also does affect a lot of mental issues. For that fact, excuse me, a lot of mental issues. It can actually play a lot on confidence and really play to be toxic masculinity. Excuse me. I noticed that men who are not financially stable seem to be more toxic, as they're not secure with themselves just because they don't have that money, or they seem to struggle more. Things of that nature. All right, so the next question is, explain a moment where you felt vulnerable because of financial instability. Colin?
Well, there's plenty of times where I felt a little vulnerable, but I say one moment was when like one moment was when I was like, I guess I was, I don't know, like my sophomore year. I would walk to McDonald's and I realized like I didn't have enough money. I realized, and then so I didn't have enough money, and also saw there was change in my pocket. So just giving him change and paying with a card at the same time, like it's like, wow, I don't have enough money on my account, so I really had to pay him like cents and coins, and them counting out the coins in front of everybody. It's like, wow, like this is crazy. Like I really did this. Like, and it's like that's it's embarrassing because you're basically an adult and you be given this, you're giving out coins and quarters like this. Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Heavily. Philip?
So when I was in like, I want to say like maybe I was a youngin. So it's got to be like elementary school, middle school, something like that. But it's like my parents are from Ghana. All my family's from Ghana. Once you get that pair of shoes, bro, you wear them shoes until they done. You know what I'm saying? You wear them shoes till they done. So I'm going on to the next year. Everybody's pulling up new kicks, new this. I'm still wearing the same ones. And then of course you're gonna get the black jokes on top of it. So it's like I gotta deal with my same beat up shoes and I'm getting black jokes. It's like it was too much. So I just felt so embarrassed, like Lim said, like so embarrassed that I couldn't get a new pair like everybody else had. And I'm not with everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, and that's that's the comfortable place. You want to get with everybody else because you feel like you're already down one.
To explain a moment where I feel vulnerable is just it probably with just buying food or just trying to do things that that make me happy or doing things that are fun to me. There was a while where I think it was probably my freshman to maybe like my junior year where it's not like I didn't have any money, but I felt like I didn't have enough for me to do the things that I wanted to do to be happy. Not necessarily saying that money is the way to be happy, but there are certain things, you know, just going bowling, going to the movies, things of that nature that I wanted to do with my friends that I knew that I couldn't just because I didn't have the financial range to do those things. And I mean, it definitely affected the emotional side of me because it's like, wow, just because I don't have money, I'm not entitled to having fun. And I feel like that's a big thing when it comes to just having money in general. If you don't have it, there's a lot of things that you can't do. It limits you. And not only does it limit you physically, it limits you mentally because when you don't have money, your range of thinking isn't as wide as well. If you don't have money, you're not going to go out and trying to do the most extroverted thing ever. You're going to be more of an introvert with things just because you don't feel as confident as you do when you have money. Because we all know, you know, if we have money in our pockets, we're going to go splurge. But if we don't, we're probably going to be eating McDonald's tonight. So just having that little area where I felt like I didn't have enough money to do the things that I wanted to do to have fun definitely was a vulnerable moment for me. It made me feel so bad and just less than the rest of my friends. But, all right, so that's the final question right here. Do you think emotional discussions like these are important for the mental well-being of Black men? Philip, go ahead.
Most definitely. Talks like this is like it's similar like barbershop talk. You know what I mean? Like you need time to kind of vent about things, and it's the perfect platform when you have those kind of people that have similar experiences to you, people who look like you. It's more comfortable for you to feel like, okay, I can definitely talk about this, and they're gonna feel me if I talk about it. You know, and of course for the mental well-being, it's very important because it's like you said earlier, it's not good to bottle things up, whether it's emotion or thinking or different things that you're going through. So having emotional discussions like this are very important for the well-being of Black men.
Jalen, go ahead. You got it.
Something that I've learned is an important characteristic in leadership and in being an effective leader is vulnerability and having the capacity to be vulnerable. And I think that as Black men and as Black women, we are all leaders. Leadership is like a cornerstone of our community, of how we exist. It's important that we're all leaders. And in being leaders, it's important that we're vulnerable as well, especially as Black men, getting more comfortable in being vulnerable because, you know, that allows us to be better men, to be more impactful within our community, within our families, within our relationships, etc. So I think it's a super important conversation. And, you know, I'm glad I had the opportunity to be a part of this discussion. I look forward to some of the questions that, you know, some of the people that have joined the conversation have to pose to us.
Wonderful. Brian?
I wanted to say that I think that discussions are extremely important because the having the outlet to talk and to just get what you need to say heard does a lot. Even if the persons necessarily don't agree with what you have to say, and even if they do, just the fact that you're able to get it out does a lot for the mind, a lot for the soul.
Kalun?
Yeah, so I think it is important only because like you get a better understanding of who you are and how you react to things. So like you know what is like the line and what is the line that you can't cross basically. So you just get a better understanding of who you are. And it's also important that you know you talk about these issues so that we find a way to solve them.
Oh, all right. With that being said, that's the last slide that I have. Thank you guys for attending the meeting. I really appreciate your support, and I hope you guys learned as much as I did. At this point, I'm going to open up the floor for questions. If you just raise your hand, I'll call on you, and then we'll try to get the question started that way. As we said, in the interest of time, I'm going to limit it to maybe 5 to 6 questions, and we can start that now. So if you'd like to ask a question, just raise your hand in the Zoom and we'll get to that. So first we're going to go with Jordan Harris. If you would like to direct your question towards anybody, go ahead.
Yeah, this is to anybody who wants to. Well, I mean, hopefully everybody can, but like, I feel like protecting Black women has become that hashtag that's really without action.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like Black Lives Matter, like everyone's like, oh, Black Lives Matter, but really don't give a fuck about Black lives. It's same with like protecting Black women. Like people will actively say protect Black women and then go out and, you know, victim blame somebody, a Black girl who's been assaulted or who's telling their story. Not even just on a Tory Lane situation, but in other situations when we talk about sexual assault. Same with like domestic violence, anybody who like comes down and says, yeah, I was abused by this person. That person who is the victim gets all the, the victim blaming on them. And I feel like as Black men, we're the ones usually doing the abuse in our community. And there's not a lot of accountability towards that. It's a lot of, oh, wait, let's not talk about that. So my question is really, how do you actively protect Black women? And how do you, hold people accountable for that abuse?
So if one of the panelists would like to go first, you could just go ahead and start speaking.
Okay. What I would say is to start actually doing it would be to check your circle. So if your circle, of course, is the people who are around you who might say something slick about Black women and be like, you just let it slide because it's your boy. Like you can't let it slide anymore. You gotta check them like, okay, you're not supposed to talk like that. How would you feel if somebody said that about your sister or if that was your mother? Like have some empathy, you know what I mean? So actively standing up for them, I would say first speaking up. You got to definitely speak up. If you hear somebody saying anything crazy, you got to say something because it's in your right to say something. You know what I mean? Like we're all related by that blackness that Jalen was talking about before. We're all Black. We all have to protect each other. Who's going to look out for us if we don't look out for each other? So you have to speak up and check your circle and make sure they're not a part of the problem that's bashing or victimizing other people.
Yeah. To add on to what Phil just said, I feel like he said something that's very important. It's really within your own circle. I feel like we all know, as Black men, we all know another Black female or a woman, excuse me. That being said, you should make sure that those individuals are being taken care of before anybody else. That being said, if we can all do that, eventually it'll reach a broader scale. Once you take care of home will take care of you. Not only that, I would like to also offer a fact here. I don't know if you guys have actually watched it's this Netflix documentary. It's called The Social Dilemma. And it's basically just about how like social media and things like that manipulate what you see and the way that you think and the way that you act, things of that nature. I will say that a lot of times we're portrayed as not being supportive towards Black women. And I'm not going to say that it's not factual that we do not, because God knows what everybody's seeing. But that being said, maybe just the emphasis more on the women that are in your life as well as those that you do not know would be more crisp and clear. If there's anybody else that'd like to answer this question, I'll just move on to the next one.
Real quick, I want to throw something on. I like the point that you just mentioned, Affiz, about the social dilemma. I think it's really important in context of everything in this conversation. I think it's a great documentary everyone should watch. And we just look at the way that the things that we allow into our life inform us when we talk about looking at our circle, but you're exposed to thousands of people through social media that influence your everyday life, whether you realize it or not. And it influences your perception. So there is, you know, forces out there that are trying to misrepresent certain things. I think we shouldn't be hypercritical or allow some of the tropes we see online affect the way that we interact with each other in terms of, you know, the relationship between Black men and Black women. And we also have to be careful that we're taking in good content as well. Because if we have content on our social media and things like that that's degrading to Black women as Black men, that's going to influence our behavior as well. But also don't let this trope that you know, Black men, just generalization that Black men don't protect Black women, just generally like that. There's somebody that's benefiting from that narrative beyond us. And I'm not saying that this is not a problem that exists. I'm just saying that you have to, like, we always have to look at everything with a bit of scrutiny. So yeah.
Malik, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yes. So the question I ask, and you guys can be very honest with your answers, but how do you guys show up for Black, queer, and trans people in your own lives, in your personal lives? I say that because, you know, as someone who's openly Black and gay, I never feel included in the Black community because it's either this kind of binary situation, and we live in this era of Black Lives Matter where sometimes it feels very performative because we're leaving out Black trans women who are getting killed at a very high rate. You know, a lot of people, and I'm sure you guys have your own preconceived notions about sex workers and what led, you know, why are they doing that as a profession? What do you guys, you know, how do you guys show up for, you know, because part of unpacking toxic masculinity is also kind of recognizing how that affects, you know, how that affects people, you know, people who identify within the LGBTQ community.
Okay, well, is there anybody that would like to answer this? Because I'd give an answer right now as well. All right. Me personally, I feel like it's all about education. A lot of people don't know about some of the statistics and the facts that actually come from the LGBTQ society. And that's kind of what drives some of the discrimination that comes from that. If you just take the time out of your day, even if it's not something that you're interested in, to read or look up some of the things that you hear in social media, that you hear in the news, and you actually try to educate yourself on that, you're one step closer to actually solving that problem. So that's just me personally, how I try to do it. Because to be completely honest with you, I don't know everything when it comes to those areas, but I try to make sure that I keep up to date. But if anybody else would like to answer, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'll hop in. I think context is really important in anything. And I think we have to reflect and understand, first recognize that, you know, the issues that you're discussing, Khalid, are issues that are pervasive within our community and should not be left out of the conversation. It, in fact, should be in the forefront in many ways. But also recognize how we got here. Because at the same time, again, we have to look at, we're pretty aware of some of the challenges we face, but we have to recognize that there's somebody that's profiting off of that as well. So, you know what I'm saying? Homophobia within the Black community didn't come out of nowhere, and it didn't happen for no reason. And Black people aren't like disproportionately homophobic or transphobic or all this stuff, and it's not just like a Black issue. There's like historical antecedents. We can trace why these issues developed in communities and societies, and I think that there should be accountability and understanding that, and really unpacking that at a level and realizing, you know, where does this come from? Why is this within me, and why is this so normalized? And so number one, recognizing that it's an issue, and then number two, challenging it. And going back to, you know, my point about Black women, you know, as a straight man, it's important that I listen and understand, you know what I'm saying, how you feel that you want to be protected. It's not up to me to dictate you know, what is best for you know, your community. So, you know, I think it's important to just listen. And then also beyond listening, we already understand some of the things we can be doing. We understand some of the ways that we can be changing our vernacular. And beyond just the way that we speak verbally, we understand the ways that we can be challenging the people around us, the ways that we can be uplifting people within the LGBTQ community, so on and so forth. So it's it's actively engaging in that, making it front and center. And I think a lot of that work is happening right now, which is something that's really good. A lot of that, a lot of discussion is being had, a lot of progress is being made, but it's definitely not enough. And it's something I actively, I'm right now, I'm centering my thesis around exploring some of these topics, because I think it's really interesting that we kind of understand where this comes from, and why we think this way, as like a history major. Appreciate that question.
Just to add on a little bit more, I feel like it's also important for us to recognize these tendencies that are within our families. I feel like a lot of this homophobia and transphobia is also passed down. I know one thing, just being completely honest here, just coming from an African background, that was something that was just never discussed in my home. It was something that I came more exposed to as I learned about it myself and I saw it in society. Now, another thing that I feel like is important as well is for us to destroy the subliminal acts that we have against homophobia and transphobia. There's a lot of times where, just as I said before, the way that you grow up kind of affects the way that you act or the way that you speak about things. Just kind of recognizing these tendencies and trying to make the active effort to change is another big way that we can definitely end that. But does anybody else have a question? That was a great question, Philippe. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No? All right. Going once.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
I don't really have a question, but I have like a statement if anyone doesn't
Go
have
ahead.
any questions. Yeah, so this event was amazing. I definitely enjoyed. Oh, well, hi everyone, I'm Bernard, but I definitely enjoyed this event. It was dope. And just a suggestion, bro, honestly, I think next time if we could get this like across different campuses. I know a lot of people are from UNH, but I know Phil, you go to Southern, Jalen, you go to Yale, and I know we know people over at Quinnipiac. If we could get this across campuses and have like hundreds of people on the Zoom, have a real conversation in the New Haven area, I think that would be dope. If anything you need from me to do that, or if we could start working with that, I think that'd be great.
Listen, I'm definitely up for that. The intent for this was really like, I don't want to call it a trial run, but it's really just to feel it, like, just to see exactly how people react. I know it takes a lot for men to actually like come out and be emotional with their responses. That's why I have to applaud our panelists for being so openly honest and answering all the questions that I personally devised to invoke some of these emotions. As I said before, and I hope that all you guys enjoyed this event. This is just the beginning. We're really hoping to broaden the scale, but just from the success of this one, we're really going to try to broaden it. So, I mean, I will be in contact with you. But if no one else has any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and formally close out this meeting. And once again, thank you guys so much for coming out. This meeting or this event has been in the developing phases for almost 2 years now. And it's a great relief off of my back to finally have this conversation and open up to the community or the world about some of the things that Black men do have to say emotionally, because I feel like it is very important for us to express that, but we don't always get a space to do so. So once again, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and close this meeting. So yeah.
Good job, man.
Appreciate it.
Oh God, it was nice. It was nice. I know saying I just suited, so I know my way.
Yo, get out of here. Get out of here.